a song full of the hope that the present has brought us, facing the rise.
When exploring the rich history of Jacksonville, Florida, it is inevitable. Two names that will come up are the names James Weldon Johnson and John Rosamond Johnson, the Johnson brothers. These are true stars, true native sons of Jacksonville, known, of course, for their great legacy, Lift Every Voice and Sing, penned right here in Jacksonville at their home on their front porch. But there's so much more about those two brothers and the legacy they left, not just for Jacksonville, Florida, but for our nation. You know, when you talk about James Weldon and John Rosamond, or J. Rosamond, you look at the brothers, they had a lot of similar qualities, but they were different in a lot of ways too. First, they were both highly educated. Both were involved their lives in music in a big way. The difference is J. Rosamond, the younger brother, he would devote his life to the composition of music, the study of music, music education.
You know, the impact of both brothers is just on the community. It's just one thing that you just can't say enough about.
They are our first international artists that have come out of Jacksonville, downtown, the La Villa area.
They're a great duo of a work, and they had many works together, but the pinnacle would have happened right here in Jacksonville at their Lee Street residence on their front porch, where they composed jointly Lift Every Voice and Sing. So James Weldon, as he describes it, was on the porch penning the words to this piece of poetry. And he's leaning into the window where John Rosamond is in the home with an upright piano, attempting to come up with this melody. And James Weldon says, as he got to the last verse, he could not control his emotions, and he said the tears burst forward. And anybody who reads that piece of poetry by James Weldon Johnson, Lift Every Voice and Sing, or they read his great masterwork, God's Trombones, they can only imagine the motion this brings in a creative personality.
When you hear the song, like if you were to hum the beginning of the song and you're with an African American of a certain age, you'll start seeing them start to sing it, and they know every word. And it's an amazing thing. So when it was set to music and taught to the children, they had actually went back to New York. They were working with Bob Cole to do musical theater, and they had no idea all of the schools here started to distribute it and were singing it.
144 years ago, James Weldon Johnson was born right here in Jacksonville, Florida, and this was his home. And that's why we chose.
So there's a lot of history linked to Jacksonville. So I learned where James Weldon Johnson and John Rosamond Johnson were born and raised, at the northwest corner of Lee and Houston, and where the Negro National Anthem was actually written.
Now we know it's important for the community to know the right spot, the right location, and to move on forward, to really recognize these two men because for their great work.
The James Weldon Johnson birth site, unfortunately, no longer has a home on it, but it's still a very significant site to the history of our city and to the rich cultural heritage that's still there.
1, 2, 3.
City Council agreed, the Historic Preservation Commission agreed that it's a very significant site to the city, and so that landmark was designated. So, and that preserves the site, meaning nothing can be built on it, nothing can be erected on that site unless it's consistent with the history of that site, of that location.
We're working hard right now to get a piece of public art in the park that's befitting these guys. You know, there's just some markers out there now. It's nice. It's a nice, quiet place to reflect where they were born. I mean, it's right on the spot where they were born, so it's significant. But I think we can improve it, and I think it'll be a destination for people to come to, because again, once you start reading about these guys, you're blown away by how much they did right out of one little corner in Jacksonville, Florida.
I hope that by having this park and having it dedicated to the history that is not just James Weldon Johnson, John Rosamond Johnson, but also documents the importance of La Villa. It also the importance of having a memorial to all of that, but also, and so we begin to teach and begin to fill in some of the gaps in our history and in our history books. Also, we hope that it sparks more people that want to talk about the history. I mean, that's how you keep it going.